Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanyatrambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. Om Gunatitoksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamah Jano Janandidam Satyam Uchate Bhava Bandhanat. Om Bhagavate Shri Swaminarayanaya Namaha. Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrutat. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 16th of November, 2024. I want to offer my prostrations, Anantagoti Namaskar, Dandvat Pranam, to all the great sages present in the world today, yet to come in the future, who have come in the past, and to the one supreme Parameshwar Paramatma residing in the heart of every being and in all places at all times. Ishavasam idam sarvam. With that bhavna and prarthana, we are continuing to examine the mysteries of Pratibhasika Satyam. Pratibhasika Satyam is a technical word in Advaita Vedanta that is referring to the reflection of consciousness through Mahamaya for the Jivatma to give the experiences that we have in the diversity of the names and forms. All right, so this is called Pratibhasika Satyam. Now, when destination is set to awaken out of the reflected consciousness into the higher consciousness, there are steps to actually take. So this document I have created, and I'll formalize this in more detail later on. These are just some initial notes on this. So to transcend Pratibhasika Satyam, which is reflected reality, as experienced in the dream state, Swapna Avastha, and realize the ultimate reality of Akshara Brahman, a spiritual aspirant must align his or her actions in the waking state, Jagrata Avastha, with the principles rooted in self-inquiry, Vairagya, which is detachment and realization of the higher self. Right, so let's look at this sentence here. So, a spiritual aspirant is a sadhak. That's all of us. We're doing sadhana in our own way at different times. If we want to awaken, if Sachin says, okay, I want to awaken out of the bondages of Pratibhasika Satyam and want to realize the Brahman, what do I need to do for that? Well, the first point here is that I have to engage in self-inquiry. This word self-inquiry is part of Jnana Yoga. So let's talk about that further. Self-inquiry means I am inquiring, I'm looking into, I'm asking the question, what am I? Who am I? There are great saints in the history of Sanatana Dharma that have taken this path. It is a path that is part of Jnana Yoga. Ramana Maharishi is one of the topmost teachers of self-inquiry. If you Google Ramana Maharishi or go to YouTube videos, hundreds of books, ideas, stotras, teachings are there that show you this path. So he himself only asked one question, who am I? And in the path of self-inquiry, we are looking at and observing our own mental activity in its entirety. It is the observation of the antakarana. What other teachers have talked about that? Many. The whole Vedanta tradition in itself, Advaita Vedanta tradition, has this as a major path. Jnana Yoga means that one who is going to tap into that vision of the truth by directly separating that which is not true. That which is not true is separated, asatyam. It is a clean cut. That is the viveka between satyam and asatyam. This is the clean cut. The viveka chudamani is the clean cut. It's a knife of discrimination, not racial discrimination. Discriminate between real and unreal, true and false, temporary and permanent. This constant separation, Atma and Anatma. Every Vedanta teacher, Sadguru, has talked about this point. Everyone, all gurus, all acharyas. Why? Why talk about this? Because we are stuck inside the power of Maya. That's why. That itself is difficult to realize. To realize that I am stuck inside the three gunas of Maya. And I want to awaken, the desire to awaken out of all three gunas. Sattva-gun, Rajogun, Tamogun. That is called Gunatit. Gunatit means that beyond the three gunas of Maya. What is beyond the three gunas of Maya? The Atma. Atma Tattva, the actual Atma Tattva, is beyond the three gunas of Maya. But to reach that stage, we need to take a path to realize what we actually are. You'll not be able, nobody can realize this Atma Tattva without taking one of the yogic paths. Gnan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, any yoga. Yoga simply means that we are reconnecting internally within ourselves. It's actually all an internal phenomena, internal path. So self-inquiry, how to do self-inquiry? Let's just see if we can mention a few points about that. Well, the right environment is needed, preferably natural environment, or you can do it at home also. Home, घर में मंदिर का एक स्थान होना चाहिए. For doing this, how to do this? I'll show you the steps. My recommendation always is start with good, 5 bhajans. पहले भजन करना, भगवान का आश्रय लेना. Before doing any sadhana in Gnan Yoga, start with bhakti. Do 9 forms of devotion, any of the 9 forms of devotion. Start with that. That is a sadhana. How to do this? So we need some practical things to do actually. How do we go about doing it, right? So start with praying to Bhagwan Shiv, Devi, Bhagwan Krishna, any avatar or great guru, to say that, I want your blessings to do this. Always ask for blessings first, rather than just sitting for self-inquiry. ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. Some people like to do that. They don't ask for blessings, and the problem that happens in that, the ego gets involved. Ahankar में इसमें involved हो जाता है. We want the ahankar to be dropped. So that's why even Shankaracharya ji, when he started Vivek Chudamani, the very first verses, it is a salutation to Govinda, to Bhagwan Krishna, and to his guru, Govinda Padacharya. Even the Advaitic gurus, they have always maintained their devotion towards their Sadguru and towards God, even in the Advaita state. Even if you look at Ramakrishna Mission, the saints in Ramakrishna Mission today, they are always first remembering Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Vivekananda Swami, Sharada Devi, etc. They remember them first as their gurus, or as form of God, and then they continue. They can talk about Advaita, that we are all one and all that thing, fine. But Bhakti and Guru Mahima and Sharanagati and all those, Bhakti has great significance for all the way around, even in the pure Advaitic tradition. Now, just to throw away all Bhakti is something we should not do. It causes a lot of unusual kinds of reactions. Anyway, the path is to start with 5 bhajans, 10 bhajans, 11 bhajans, 21 bhajans, mantra sadhana. Kind of what we do every day here. We do almost like good 30, sometimes 40 minutes of all these stotras. And why we do that? Because to align our mental mind and bhavana with the frequency of Paramatma, that's why the saints have given all of these stotras, mantras, and bhajans and shastras. And then we get into this is just more the contemplative part. But to do self-inquiry, it can be done by oneself. It can be done with a scripture. It can be done in a small group. It can be done in many ways. How to do self-inquiry. Let's say you're just sitting by yourself. How do you do that? Well, one way to do that is just to keep attention on the breath, the inward breath, outward breath, alternate nostril breathing, and just be aware of what's happening in the mind. Be surprised where the mind goes. It goes in all different directions. But observe it. Don't try to control it. Don't try to suppress it. Don't do anything to it. It's going to go in one direction, then somewhere else. It'll go different places. So to inquire into the function of the mind by observation. Self-inquiry is possible when there is observation. We begin to observe, oh, this is going here, this is going here, this is going here. And then you can ask, you ask the question, why am I thinking this way? Why is the feeling coming here? Where is that coming? One becomes a student of one's internal world. We've talked about this before, I've kind of mentioned it. But to actually do that, set aside specific time that for 1 hour, Sachin is going to engage in self-inquiry. The more technical word for this in Sanskrit is antardrushti. Antardrushti means to see within. Amazing. That is an amazing thing. There's a whole world inside of us we don't know. But to tap into that and to reach the Atma Tattva, this is one of the paths, because to awaken out of pratibhasika satyam and not be stuck in that anymore, and to reach jivan mukti, to reach liberation, start this type of path of looking within, observing within, taking steady breaths within, in and out and in and out. So you will notice there many truths come right out. The link between the speed of the mind, the prana, the breath speed, and the antarik shakti, they are on one chain. Stabilize one, you stabilize the other two. So that is the yoga. So you will notice you start one path, the other paths come inside there. There's a link between the three, which is the speed of the mind. Mansik, it's called manovega. Vega is the word. Vegam. It's the speed of the mind. It's intensely fast. Then there is the speed of the breath, taking, how fast we breathe in and out. And then the Shakti that is going inside. So the sadhanas that are done before self-inquiry are to bring stability to the mind, stability to our emotions. And then, with either eyes open or eyes closed, one begins the process of seeing, who am I? What am I really? And you'll notice that to discover the me, the Atma, the mind has to be completely still. Once the manovritti becomes absolutely still, shantaman ho jata hai, purna shanti. In that state, glimpses of the Atma begin to open. But before the Atma Tattva opens, the chakras are seen. They are intermediate. So this is not something that most people ever experience, very few. The reason is our mind is spinning. But once it settles down, the chakra system is revealed. Chakras open. This mystical dimension opens at this point. And in that mystical dimension, the chakras are spinning vortices that appear, and the yogi, depending on how advanced one is in this type of development, where there's no agitation at all, none, You can wind, as I mentioned before, you can go in any place in the Brahmand. Sab aap dekh sakte ho in that sthiti. But that's not easy to reach that. That's why, when people do these longer anushtans, like for example, take Namah Shivaya mantra, doing 11,000 times Namah Shivaya mantra throughout the day, anushthan, longer anushthan. Why do that? Because to transcend the pratibhasika satyam, that mantra is a doorway. Mantra is a doorway into mantra. Mantra is a doorway. Hold on one second. I got to turn this off. Just a second. There we go. Mantra is a gateway. It is a doorway out of the entanglements of the Sukshma Sharira. The Sukshma Sharira, we are stuck inside. There is a Sukshma Sharira. It has a purpose. But the Jivatma is caught inside there, in the reflection. Is thinking that it is real. Advaita Vedanta teaches us it is not real. It's like the sun that believes that reflected sun in the pot that is on the ground, that reflected sun is me. The reflected sun, that image that you see in the pot of water, is not the actual sun. It is a reflection of the sun. Similarly, okay, let me say one more thing about that. The reflection is due to the actual sun. The reflection cannot exist without the sun. But the actual sun is mistakenly believing that I am this reflection. That is the difference between Atma and Jivatma. Jivatma is that reflected sun, and the Atma is the original sun. You see, I hope this is clear. So, who are we? I say I'm Sachin. Sachin. It's been hit inside my mind right from childhood. It's completely false. That's not true at all. It's a reflection. It's come from the society, from the conditioning, from parents, from this, from that. None of that is real. It is real relatively. Pratibhasika satyam, even the word satyam, vyavarika. Yeah, so for identification, for saying this body is given a name, Sachin. That's not really who I am. I mean, if you have a pot of water, you can call it something if you want. You can call it, I don't know. You can call it. You can give that sun a name. You can say, well, this is Tom. This is Sally. This is Sachin. This is this. This is that. You can give 100 pots of water are there. Bright sky is there. The sun is only one. It is shining in 100 pots. Each sun in the pot is given a different name. And each sun thinks somehow that I'm something different from the other. This is what Advaita Vedanta teaches us. We think that that I am different from you, and you are different from somebody else, and this and that. No, there is only the Paramarthika Satyam is the sun that realizes itself, not misidentified with the reflected sun in the pot of water. That is the great mystery. Even though we are living, even though those pots of waters exist, but when there's realization that that original sun is the actual sun, then the pots of waters are still there. You can still see the same 100 reflections of the sun. Some water is muddy, some water is very pure, some water has been dyed. This looks like a green water, yellow water, this water, some water is in a glass of water. All different ways the sun is going to appear. Thousands of different ways based on the container. That container is Mahamaya. So let's say you have 100 different containers. You have a plastic container, you have a glass container, a pot, a ceramic container, different kinds, And when there's different substances, so because of that, the sun looks different in each container. If you look at this one, looks a little brighter. This one looks dimmer. This one looks green. This one looks yellow. This one looks blue. This one looks this, like that. So the container is the three bodies. physical, subtle, causal. And each Jivatma, each sun's, there's this mysterious formation, as Shankaracharya ji says, that each Jivatma feels, I am this container. So this is the creation of the Jivatma. How did the Jivatma get created? It's not even created, really. I'm teaching, just explaining only pure Advait Vedanta, not the Vishishta Advait right now. We'll talk about that some other time. But in Advait Vedanta, this is how the Jivatma is described. The Jivatma somehow, mysteriously, through the power of Maya, feels I am separate from all, and this is me, and this is mine, and this is my, that I'm separate from others, and this is how we feel, this is how we live. But what are we really? We're that Surya, that Brahman only. But somehow that Brahman, it's not that the Brahman has degraded into the Jivatma. It's not that the sun has degraded into the reflections. No, the sun is always the sun. Look at Ramana Maharishi's teaching. He said the self is always realized. Look at Nisargadatta Maharaj from Maharashtra. Nisargadatta Maharaj ho gaye. Bahut bade sant ho gaye. Advaitic saint. He used to live in Dharavi, in the slum. He says enlightenment is here also. There's no question. He was actually on his way to go to the Himalayas. On his way, he came back. He says, why am I going there? Wherever I am, there is enlightenment. Nisarga Datta Maharaj. You can look it up. It's in Marathi. He used to speak in Marathi. He lived in Dharavi. And have all these Westerners come. He was a fully awakened being. Unke photos bhi hai, audios bhi bahut hai, translations so many. And the most very famous book, I Am That, was created out of his discourses. Pure Advaita Vedanta. And he was fully awakened into the Atma. These are amazing saints that have realized the Atma Tattva. Meaning what? It is a realization of what I really am. So the reflected sun is mistaking itself as an individual, separate sun from the other reflections, from the other pots and everything. And this is where the trouble begins. This is Maya. So what is Maya in Advaita Vedanta? Maya is the power of Brahman. It is a certain power of Brahman, Akshara Brahman. Now why? Again, this question, classic question, why is that power there? No answer to this. Nobody has ever been able to answer. In fact, what the Vedantic masters say, that the question is wrong. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean, that the question is wrong? Because the question is coming out of our ajnan. It is coming out of that reflection. It's like that reflected sun saying, why is there a reflection? But that question disappears when the sun realizes I am not the reflection. The question disappears. This is the answer in Advaita Vedanta. So the Advaitic masters were asked, why is there Maya? Their answer is, this question disappears. Realize what you are, the question goes away. In Avadut Gita, Bhagwan Dattatreya ji kehte hai. Read it sometime, Avadut Gita. People don't know about that. It's an amazing scripture. In Avadut Gita, it is also, this thing comes up there also, and Guru Dattatreya ji kehte hai, he says it so beautifully. He says there is nothing like Maya. There's only the one. There's only the divine light. There's only the divinity itself. There is no duality of any kind, because he's in the completely awakened state. And he's speaking right from there. It's like saying, why? It's like asking the sun, just Surya Narayan jo hum dikhte hai in the sky, explain why darkness exists. The Surya Narayan ke darkness jaisa koi kuch hai hi nahi. What you're asking? And isn't that so? If you ask Bhagwan Surya Narayan, कि अंधारा क्या है? What is darkness? He says, I don't know what that. There's nothing like that. ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. Only प्रकाश, 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 प्रकाश. Divine light only. सूर्य का प्रकाश है, बस और कुछ नहीं. The concept of darkness vanishes. The question, why is there darkness, as to the sun, if you go inside the sun, you also disappear and the question also disappears. You also disappear. The question also disappears. Take a spaceship and say, we're going to go inside the sun and ask the sun why darkness exists. You start going closer, closer, closer. At some point, the whole spaceship will burn up and it will just become part of the sun, and you also become part of the sun. Everything, the whole question disappears. You disappear. Everything disappears. And you realize, oh, I am the sun. There's no concept of darkness. जिसको अक्षरधाम कहते हैं. अक्षरधाम क्या है? अक्षर ब्रह्म क्या है? Akshara Brahma has two forms, Sakar and Nirakar. And what we are talking about here is up to that level of that opening of Nirakara Brahman. And then there's a Sakar Akshara Brahman, and then the other Acharyas and Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he said कि Akshara Brahma से भी पर है भगवान Parabrahma, Purushottam Narayan. वो एक अलग subject है. We won't get to that right now. Right now we're only talking about this point. Amazing. In a nutshell, self-inquiry, just discover that I am not this Sachin, and all the identity, the individual identity is relatively there. That's not me. I am the Brahman itself, the actual higher reality. That is who I am. That is a realization, that is an awakening. And if you realize it, when a person realizes that, they are completely a liberated being, Jivan Mukta, right? This is the idea of Pratibhasika Satyam, about how to awaken, path of self-inquiry, and to set the destination further, Bhakti as a foundation to Jnana in this path. So with that, we'll do the closing mantra now. Om Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti Mantrabulam Gurur Vakyam Pujamulam Gurur Padam Mokshamulam Gurur Krupa Om Tameva Mata Chipita Tameva Bandusha Sakha Tameva Vidya Dravinam Tameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundaye Viche Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Shri Sadgurubhyo Namah Om Hrim Swaha Om Durge Rakshini Tata Swaha Om Shri Radha Krishna Arpanamastu Om Hrim